everyone, and welcome to another edition of Invitation to a Conversation. Uh, I hope everyone has a blessed day. It looks like rain is on the horizon, but it is the holiday season. And so this is my spotlight on Veterans Day. As you know, Veterans Day is Tuesday, November the 11th. So my spotlight this year for Veterans Day is Yolanda Smalls. Good morning, Miss Smalls. How you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Well, thank you, my sister veteran.
Yes.
How you doing today?
Good.
Good. Are you enjoying this weather?
I am. It's very warm to me.
Yes. Are you ready for the holidays?
I am ready.
Okay. Are you a holiday person?
I love the holidays.
Good. Okay. Well, let's get into your military career and all about this military.
Okay.
So, first of all, who is Yolanda Smalls, and are you a native of Brunswick, Georgia?
I am not a native of Brunswick, Georgia. I am a military brat. I'm a United States Army military brat. So I moved around with my dad during his career, and he retired. I finished high school, wanted to join the military right afterwards. He was like, no, become a civilian. Then I kicked around, then I joined the Air Force, and 24 years, two wonderful, amazing children, and an amazing granddaughter. And I've been out for a while now. I retired in 2013. Yeah, so I've been out for a minute. I've had a good transition. So yeah, that's me.
So
Before we get to all your questions.
yes. I am a child of a veteran, but I never saw myself as a military brat because he didn't take us to his different duty stations. We were stationed in one place with my mom.
Okay.
So explain to me what a military brat is.
So a military brat is someone who however often your particular parent moved, because it depends on their job. My dad moved every 4 years. So we were Fort Hood, Germany, New Jersey, and then he retired. So I had the opportunity to go to school in various places. My favorite was the Department of Defense schools, because in the Department of Defense schools, everybody was new, so you weren't, no one looked at you crazy because everybody was new. A couple of times in transition, I would have to go to a regular public school where everyone known each other since kindergarten, and then you're just kind of like, oh, new kid, until you get to move on base. So that's a military kid. We have like our own thought processes. Some kids loved it. Some kids hated it. Most of us did agree though, once you get to like your 11th grade year, unless the school that you were in was horrible, you really kind of wanted to finish your 11th and 12th grade year and in the same place.
So that's one of the questions I want to ask. So how old were you when you recognized that your dad was in the military? And here we go again. It's you said every 4 years. So when you recognized it was every 4 years, how old were you? What grade? And how did you feel every time you had moved? Were there's a place that you didn't want to move as a child?
To be honest with you, I loved every move. So I will have to back up a little bit before that. So my mom, and I'm not telling her business, this is a story that she tells. So before people are like, oh, she tells her mom's business. My mom was a teenage mom. And I always tease my dad, when I ask him, why'd you marry mom? And then I tell him, I said, I know why you married her. I said, when you met me, you was like, ooh, I want to be that little girl's daddy. I said, so you married my mom, I just want to be my daddy. But I've always, and it's so crazy, like I can't tell you what I ate yesterday, but like our first place that we were at in Fort Hood, I don't remember a lot of it, but I remember two specific things from there. And I was like 2, 3, and 4 there. I remember my white go-go boots that I love, and mom told me, she's like, yeah, you should remember them. She was like, I couldn't even get you to take them off to go to sleep. And I remember when I slit my eye open on the coffee table, because I slit my eyelid, back then, with the, furniture back in the day wasn't kid friendly. And so the coffee table, and my mom used to be obsessed with waxing the floors, and I used to be obsessed with sliding on the wax floor. Yeah, I slid past the coffee table, and that coffee table like slid my eyelid. But you know, you're a little kid, so it flipped down. And I remember it. It's so crazy. I had to be like 3 or 4, but I remember specifically because I remember thinking, look for my eyeballs. I remember my dad crawling around the floor looking for my eyeball, and my mom's got me in the bed, like everybody's freaking out until my mom like moved my leg. She's like, stop looking for her eyeball, it's still in there. And you know, off to the emergency room. I can't tell you how many times I have slid open the same eyelid. My mom was like, you're determined to get rid of that eye. Because I could, like every duty station that we were at, this eye has landed me in the emergency room. Surprised my parents didn't get a visit from the social workers. But anyway, so I remember it early. I remember it fondly. You know, each move we made wasn't, for me, because everybody feels different, it wasn't hard. You know, sometimes I think back like, oh, if we had had Facebook back then, it would have been nice to keep in touch with people. But then also at the same time, sometimes memories are best to be memories, and you don't need an adulthood because then people will break your heart. But yeah, so I remember it because I was a little bit older. I think the only time I really was not sad, but when we left Germany the first time, because I had one really good best friend, and I didn't, as vibrant as my personality is, didn't make friends very well, and she was very popular, and she was older. Like, you know, I was like kindergarten, and she was like, you know, 2nd, 3rd grade, but she was like my big sister, and because I didn't have siblings yet, so she was like my big sister, and nobody could mess with me. So I was a little sad when we left there. But yeah, every move, you know it's coming, you know when it's time, because last year, Dad's like, this is the last year, so it's not a surprise, you know, this is last year, so you kind of wrap things up. And it's usually during a time when your friends are moving too, so that's the thing when you go to a military school, everybody is moving, so you're not the only one moving. The only time it was really hard was when and it wasn't hard then, but it was a little bit more challenging, was when my dad retired out of Fort Dix, because that school, even though it was near a military base, it had a lot of civilians, and so you kind of get ingrained there. And so that move was a little bit harder going into the next school, because the next school was no military kids. So I was going into that school as a sophomore, and everybody had been together forever, and that one was difficult because the school wasn't as multicultural as I was used to. And so just going into that and trying to figure out, because like, you know, I grew up with jeans and t-shirts, and this particular school, everybody wore slacks and put on makeup and did their hair, and I'm like, I'm used to a ponytail, some Vaseline on your lips, and these people are fancy. I told my mom, these people are fancy. So, yeah.
Where were you born and raised?
So I was born in Virginia, South Boston, Virginia. It's a little bitty town. So I was born, and I was there until I was 2. I think my parents got married, and then we were off.
Okay. So prior to going into the military, before I asked you those rest of those military questions, what was your first career choice?
So, growing up, I wanted to be Debbie Allen. No, I didn't want to. I did from fame. I didn't want to be a dancer. I wanted to be Debbie Allen. So let me be very specific about that. I wanted to be Debbie Allen. Other than that, I think I always knew I was going to be in the military. That was always not my plan, but I just thought it was great. I love moving. So I think that's why I never had a hardship with it, because I was always excited when we moved again. I'm like, ooh, this is gonna be new, and this is gonna be adventurous, and who am I gonna meet? And you know, is it gonna be hard for, you know, sometimes it's hard for you to make friends, sometimes it's not, and you just don't know which one you're gonna get when you get there. And then also being mentioning my mom being younger with me. Like the first time we were in Germany was amazing, because you know, she's just leaving this small town, and then she did used to go to New York a lot, so she had both worlds. But growing up with her, and she will tell you that growing up with her being in Germany, the first time was amazing, because it's me and her, dad's at work, and me and her are going through these villages and getting on buses. And she said, because I was 4 or 3, she said, evidently I knew German then. She was like, you were my little translator. I don't know a lick of German. But But she said back when I was little, she said people talk to you and you would tell me what they said, and you know.
So when was the first time? How old were you when you recognized and said, "This is what I want to do"? Following my dad's footsteps and join the military.
Then the first when we were in Germany, I loved being in Germany. I loved when I go on base and see my dad in his uniform, and then my mom was in it was like an auxiliary for women, and they wore uniforms. They weren't military, but they had their auxiliary uniforms, and they were so pretty, and I was like, oh, that's what I want to do.
So this is the $1 million question.
Okay.
Because you know all veterans have it.
Okay.
What branch of service?
Was I?
Yeah.
Woo woo, United States Air Force, baby. My dad said Air Force or nothing. Because I originally, don't get mad, I originally signed up for the Navy. I was like, no.
Woo woo, Navy, woo woo, Navy. Okay. So tell me all about your career in the Air Force. What was your job? What was your rank? And what was your duties?
Okay. So when I first went in, so I said I wanted to go in, and I didn't go in originally. This story is kind of important. What prompted me really to go in, because I graduated, went to business school, got a little job, a little apartment. You know, if your boyfriend breaks up with you in the middle of the night back in the day, there was always an Air Force recruiter sitting in a storefront window in the middle of the night. When your life is falling apart, what you do, you look for anchor. And I seen this most amazing, beautiful black woman sitting in her office at night in her uniform. She had blues, her blues, her hair is perfect. She got all the medals. And I remember it. I walked in her office. I was like, I want to look like that. Sign me up. I'm ready to go. And she just busted out laughing. She's like, oh, just going through a breakup?
No, she didn't.
And look, when I became an instructor, I know why she asked me that, because you know the mindset. But anyway, I did join. When I originally went in, I went in under billeting. So billeting is lodging, but during basic training, they merged with food service and they became services. And then they come and get me out of basic training. And this at the end of basic training, not the beginning. They're like, hey, your job merged. You're going to be cooking now instead of working at the lodging office. Well, in both. And they was like, so you can either take this job or you can go home. I'm like, I made it through basic training. Right. Y'all should tell me this on day 3.
Right.
When I was learning how to do the push-ups with people screaming at me in my face.
Right.
But I was like, I guess I'll be cooking because I ain't going home now. It's too late. But it ended up being the best thing. So when I first came in services. It was so I came in, cooked for. I didn't cook very long. I cooked for maybe a year. Moved over to the lodging office. I moved around, so we merged. So then it was cooking, lodging. We had mortuary affairs. We had the fitness center. And we had the recreation center. So I worked non-deployed. I worked at. I cooked. I worked lodging, and we had a readiness office, and we had a computer office. So at the base level, at home, I did the computer office, because I had to take care of all of our computers. And I worked at lodging, and lodging was the bulk of my career. And then I worked in food service as well, but not as long as I did lodging.
So that was all customer service?
Yeah, all customer service. So that's my first 8 years. Go down range, I did do some mortuary affairs. I did mortuary affairs, and I did recreation, I did the fitness center, but I did all those particular jobs downrange. Then the halfway point of my career, I decided to become an instructor for our tech school. So I was an instructor. I was a basic instructor for the first year, and then the second. Then I moved up and I became an instructor supervisor. So I still had my classes, but I was more in charge of making sure the instructors followed the curriculum, testing them, sitting in on their classes, making sure that they were doing things right, and then also being one of the instructors in the lab. Like some particular instructions, of course, we have more people. Then after that, I left there after doing my 4 years there, went overseas, went back for lodging, and then I got picked up for protocol, protocol position. And what protocol is, it's the wing commander has a person that's in charge of all the distinguished visitors coming to the base, and separated unit. So our headquarters building sat on 7 little units. And so whenever we would have a visitor come, it was my build their itinerary, set up all of their meetings, set up all the lodging that all the they had to go to, and then I would drive them. So if they were in for 3 days, they would have me from the day they get there to the day they leave. And they go nowhere without me. I drive them everywhere, every hotel, every fitness, they do nothing without me. Not even, and it's so funny, somebody was asking, not even take a comfort break, because one of the chiefs, E9, he was like, hey, he's like, Biggs, is it time for my comfort break? And I said, no, you got like 3 more minutes, because he was briefing somebody, and people looked at me. He's like, yeah, you can't go to the bathroom till the protocol officer tells you go to the bathroom. I said, that's right, in 3 minutes and wrap it up, we're gonna go to the bathroom, and then we're gonna hit this truck, because we gotta get up. Because that was in England, it was amazing. I also did protocol downrange, and so I've picked up some of your bigger generals coming in and out of the deployment area, and I got some insight just in a 5-minute, drive. Sometimes that's their only time to really exhale and get to see the human side of them. And then after that, I came here. No, not here, Lord. I went to Montana to the 819th Red Horse. Woo-hoo, Red Horse. That's a readiness expedition there. So we spent a lot of time in Afghanistan. And there I was in charge of the services people and the supply people. And for a brief time, the transportation guys fell underneath me, and the loggies fell underneath me for a very, very brief time. But the bulk 4 years there was the services and supply guys. So we get downrange. At this point, I'm an E7, so I'm sitting on Kandahar in Afghanistan. But I got guys at all the little sites, and anytime they get hit, I would, after they get cleared, I'd hop in a helicopter, get up there, check on their mental state, make sure they're fine, stay a couple of days with them, then come back down. If one of the commanders was having a problem with one of my people, they'd get on the phone, they'd be like, hey, Biggs, can you hop on the helicopter and come up here? The guy's not acting right, and we know if you show up, he gonna get his stuff together. And I'd hop on there and fly up. And so that was the last 4 years of my career, just flying around, just making sure my guys were good when we were downrange, when we were back at home, because we were at Maelstrom. Just keeping everything straight as far as supply-wise for the Red Horse guys. Those were your electricians, your structure guys, because what their mission was to build water wells and kind of restructure things that had been destroyed. And so we supported them being out in the live wire area. So it was a lot of, we took care of them. We made sure we took care of, we like to say, the bed to grave. So all of their recreation, like Christmas time, we would do these, they're not fancy, but we would do things to kind of distract them so we can enjoy the holidays without being too sad. We would come up with these programs that would take like a whole week to run through. And just kind of try to make sure as much as we could to take care of people's mental health, running the being part of the USO shows and that type of thing. But that's what I did.
So, congratulations, you did 24 years all together. Yes. Congratulations, my sister. And so what was one of your favorite duty stations, and what was one of your least favorite duty stations, and why? So, the thing that it's never the location. It's always the people. Yes.
Always the people.
Yes.
It's like, what is your favorite? It's like, is it my first duty station where I really learned how to be who I am?
Which duty station did you go and you didn't want to leave? You wanted more time there.
So I'm always ready to go.
Okay.
I am always ready to go.
Okay.
I will say I was ready to leave. The base I was ready to leave was Misawa, Japan. And it was just a lot going on. I was ready to leave Misawa, Japan, but also later, I was like, dang, why did I leave Misawa? But that was the only base when it was time for me to go. I was ready to go.
So explain to people that I never heard of Messiah Japan, because different branches of service goes to different countries.
So shockingly enough, Misawa, Japan is a Navy base.
Okay. And what big city that we know of?
So it's not. It's up in the mountains.
Okay.
That's probably why you don't know about it. You're like, well, how is it a Navy base? It was Navy. It was a Navy Air Force joint base.
Okay.
In Misawa, Japan, is up in the mountains, and like I said, literally a week after I left, I was like, what? I was tripping. Because Misawa, Japan was during a time of my life where I was single. Like I was newly single. And Misawa, Japan is more like a family base.
Okay.
And then my boys were there with me, but I couldn't keep daycare. Okay. So that was the part of the problem. So the daycare center on base only runs Monday through Friday. Well, I'm a customer service. I'm up at 4 a.m. I'm at work at 4 a.m. And so my boys, that means they got to go to the babysitter at 3 a.m. So their schoolwork is suffering. So the boys had to leave, and that was one of the reasons why I was ready to go. The boys couldn't stay with me in Japan. I took a 4-year assignment in Japan to take them, just to get there and not have daycare,
right? And
not have, and I could have tried. Well, I tried to figure out the daycare piece, but trying to get the piece where if you're overseas, you have. I can grab her kids. Can't go, and I will take them. I couldn't find anyone to sign that paperwork for me. So my boys, out of 4 years, my boys were only there for a year and a half. So that's why that would be my least favorite base, because I took that base because I wanted them to be overseas. And then I ended up having to send them to my mom and finish out my time there by myself. And that was sad. Like, I have these beautiful kids, but when they're here with me, like every Saturday, I'm calling people, hey, can you babysit for me? And different people are babysitting. Now I'm thinking, what if something happens to them? I don't know which person I'm going to blame. Right. This teacher at school is going, hey, your kids are falling asleep in school. Well, probably because they get up at 3 o'clock in the morning. By the time they get to school at 8, they're tired. Like they've been up for 5 hours. It's their nap time, and now you want them to sit in a chair and learn. So that would be my least favorite because of that reason, because of my kids. My favorite that I really didn't want to leave, that's a toss-up between England, and my first duty station, Langley, Virginia. So that's a toss-up. I can't. Okay. It's one of those two.
How was your experience as a woman in the military with your career choices that you had?
So I will say, for me, I had a couple of challenges, but I didn't have as many challenges as other women that I knew. And that's because I've had some awesome women that were there before me. So by the time I came in behind them,
that situation was taken care of.
Yeah, it was taken care of. And if it wasn't, because there was a few times it wasn't, because I was called on the carpet about a couple things, and I was like, you can call me on the carpet about this, but we gonna discuss this respectfully, But I will say who had some challenges, and in areas that could have been a challenge, sometimes it's when they pitted us against each other, and that was the hardest thing. Like going head to head with a man didn't bother, because I'm like, he's a man. Like, you know me, like, you're a man, and you tell me how to be a woman, and plus I'm a top-notch NCO, and I know I'm a top-notch NCO. Like, I'm at work before anybody's at this job. I'm leaving after everybody's gone, because I got to take care of my people. In order to take care of my people, that means I got to be here first, so I can be here before they get here, and then I do that paperwork instead of doing paperwork while they're here. I wait till they leave to do paperwork. That way I can focus on them, make sure they're okay.
And no matter what, we have to do one step further to be better than our men counterparts.
So the men didn't bother me. And then a lot of the men, were very supportive, and they helped me. And sometimes when I was wrong, they come. Now, small, you know you're wrong. Right? I'm gonna support you, but you right. And I'm like, oh my bad.
But thank you.
But my biggest challenge was sometimes going head to head with another woman. And I should only say that was really only one time, and it wasn't her fault. It really was not her fault. She didn't have the information, and they gave her. It was someone higher up gunning for me. And she was also a top-notch NCO, but we didn't know each other. So when she came in, they gave her some bogus information, and before she could really investigated, she had to do some stuff, and so she had to do it with the information that she was given from leadership that she would think would give her real information. Then later, after the incident happened, and she like got to know me because we didn't work in the same section. She got to know my real reputation, and she came to me and she was like, I didn't know. I apologize. But she was like, coming in, this is what I had, and I had no time before I had to make this particular decision. And so we did have that conversation. But I think that was, out of everything, that was the only time that really kind of hurt my feelings, my personal feelings. Because I'm like, women, we should, and so that kind of hurt my feelings a little bit.
If you had the opportunity to make a change and remove something, make a change and remove something from the military, what would it be and why?
Nothing I can think of back then that I would have removed.
Operational, functional wise?
The only thing I would have added is the daycare centers on days be 20 hours a day. The 24 hours a day, I mean, the daycare centers aren't 24 hours a day. Maybe not like everybody can't use it all those hours, but I think you have the services people, you have the hospital people, you have the CE, the civil engineering guys, and all of us have a 24-hour job. Like, we have to be able, so I don't understand why the daycare center, which oddly falls under the services umbrella, was not 24 hours.
Right.
So I think that was the only thing that I didn't really comprehend was like, why is the daycare center? And then they do have a list of home providers, but it's only so many, and most of them only want to work the same time as the daycare center is open. And I'm like, well, you're not really. And then there was one career field, and those were the secret squirrel guys, and because they were the secret.
What was secret squirrel? Special forces?
No, not them. The guys that was they got all of the intelligence community. The intelligence community had their own daycare in Massaua that was 24 hours because they were in the bunker, so they had their own people.
So that's something you would change.
What
was something you would remove out of the daily operation of the military or the function?
When I was in, because that's the only information that I have. I can't think of anything I would have removed. I can't think of a thing that I would have removed.
The dress code and the hairstyles have changed dramatically.
See, I wore braids. Like, people say that, but I was like, I understand everybody. Like I said, I understand everybody had different experiences. I wore braids. So I never had a problem. I followed the rules.
To work?
Yeah.
Oh,
like
that's
what I'm saying. Like, that's what I'm saying. Everybody has different experiences. Like, I found out that people that was in had different work sections. My work section never had an issue. The only time there was ever an issue with my braids, and it was my fault, we were deployed, and I knew my braids were a little long. Like, there was a short one, but I knew it was hitting the back of my collar. Just every time my commander came, I just made sure my head was tilted a little bit. But I knew. And so it wasn't their fault. I know the rules. Right. And I was, kind of just keep my head this way. And then one day she passed by me. I didn't know she was behind me. And she was very, very discreet. She was like, oh, look at your hair. That's what she said. Right. And she touched my collar. And I was like, oh, yes, ma'am. And, she went on her way. And I went back to my bunker and scissors.
Right.
And I cut it.
Because she made a slide with the shade, too.
Well, I thought she was very, because she could have said something. Yeah. Like, she could have busted me out. She's the commander. Yeah, she was just like, oh, look at your hair. That's all she said. And she didn't change her face or nothing. I went and cut my hair and came back to work and went back to work. Like, nothing had happened. Only one person called it. It's like, did you go cut your hair? I said, did you see how nice she was when she told me my hair was too long? I said, I ain't gonna make her come back here and say it to me again.
Right.
I'm not gonna do that. Right. So, yeah.
You got the hint the first time.
Yeah.
Right. Your opinion of the current military and the atmosphere and environment of the world today.
So, I was thinking about that question. So the current military, I'm gonna say this from my personal experience. They're missing the people part, the airmen are, because when I came in, we live, not to say that everything should evolve, I'm not saying that, but I think when we get these brand new 18-year-olds, they do still need to be in a room with one other person. We don't need to let these people who've come from their parents' basement come to a dorm room and sit in a dorm room by themselves when they get off work. They don't know how to make friends. When I came in, you had a person in your room, there was a bathroom in between, and there was two people over there. So you had to learn how to live with somebody that you'd never met before. So you're not alone. Like, you can't sit in your room and get depressed because you got somebody in your room. The bathroom you share with people on that side, so you had to learn how to function with people in your life.
The other people, because everybody's not coming from your same state or
right.
the same environment.
Right.
Or the, right.
Because my first roommate, Tracy, she was amazing. She was, so like I said, I grew up military, so I grew up with an extremely multicultural lifestyle. So that's what I knew. Like, I didn't know, I wasn't in a black neighborhood. I wasn't in the black person in a white neighborhood. I was in a very diverse.
But you talking about people coming from.
So it was white, Tracy, and she was amazing. Get in the room, and me and her had this conversation. She was very firm. She's like, hey, I've never lived with a black person before. I'm from North Carolina. Me and her, like, I mean, she started the conversation because it was really her room. Like, they moved me in her room.
Right.
And she was like, hey, I'm just going to tell you this up front. And I was like, well, do you have a problem? She said, no, I don't have a problem with it. She said, that's not what I'm telling you. She said, I just want to have this dialogue. So we had the dialogue. We became great friends. She was the ranking female in the dorm. So they was like, oh, we got somebody else coming in. So we're going to move her because, Tracy, you deserve your own room. And this room is made for two people. So they split us up. And so two girls came in. The first girl that came in was white. They put her in Tracy's room. Tracy comes over to my room. She's hot. Oh, but like the very next day, I get a roommate and she's Filipino. And Tracy's really hot. So they split us up.
Right.
So I was like, it's okay. So I put between that piece and then downrange, I had a roommate, Angelica Spink. And she was amazing. So I got there, and once again, there's a note on the door. Hey, Sergeant Spink, I'm so sorry you had to give you a roommate. So I got an attitude. So I'm like, oh, so she don't want no roommate, and now I'm here, and she gonna be, you know how you build these things up in your mind.
Yeah.
So in the room downrange is her twin size bed and my twin size bed, and they bump up, and then we got the wall arch right here. So there isn't even no room for us to have beef, but I'm already got attitude, so she's a no. And she comes to the room, and she's nice, and she's like, oh, I move stuff so you can have room. And I'm waiting, because you're waiting, for, the foot's gonna drop. And,
right.
So it's like the second day, and she said something about, she's like, oh, I don't even know why she left that note on the door. I said, oh, you don't have no problem having a roommate? She's like, no. She said, it's only, because we only had like four women rooms, because it was like, they built us rooms inside of a warehouse, because we was in Kuwait. So we had little tiny cubby rooms built inside this huge warehouse. And the hallway, the little piece of hallway we had was 5 rooms. It was only 5 rooms in the whole thing, and all the females had to go in the 5 rooms. And she said, I don't even know why she said that. And she said, is that what's been wrong with you for the last 2 days? I was like, yeah. I said, girl, yeah, I thought we was gonna be up in here fighting, moving birds. And but it was so crazy this was so amazing. And this is why I say that they need to go back to removing things out of the room so people have to talk. So I work swings and she worked mornings. So at midnight, when I would come, because I get off at 11, at midnight when I'm in the room, she wakes up because that's our time to talk. And the women around us, we were rotating, so the women around us actually ended up being in rooms by themselves waiting for new roommates. And one of the girls came to us one day and was like, hey, I hear you guys talking at night. Can I come over? And we're like, well, we'll leave the door unlocked. Come in, don't make any noise, just come in. Bring your blanket, grab some space on the floor, and you can join the conversation. And the next night, another girl comes in. So by the end, we have this rule. You can come in, don't say your name, there's no arguing. If people are sharing, let them share. So we had this thing at 1 o'clock in the morning, pitch black. Nobody can say their names. All the girls come in the room. They're laying on the floor, and we have this raw This raw conversation. You have one girl that's going through postpartum because she had a baby before she came. She's an officer. You know what I mean? Like, so there's no rank in this. I mean, these are we got everything from a major to an airman basic with having this
all
raw
titles are stripped.
Because we're like people. Yeah, we're like it's 1 o'clock in the morning. We will not turn on the lights. We will not say names, and none of this discussion and no part will be had outside of this room. And at night we come in, whoever's struggling that day, you know, I'm struggling with depression, or my husband is tripping, whatever the conversation, and we would have these raw, everybody. So I think the current is missing that because they've given everybody their own space.
Right.
And so no one knows how to come together to get through things.
And start communicating with somebody different than them.
Yes, and you learn all these different things about different, like my roommate, like I'll use my Filipino roommate for instance. So she took me home for a Filipino holiday, which her and her sister decided to play this joke on me. So we get there, and I'm the only one that's not Filipino. They're speaking Tagalog. But I'm there for the food. I'm not gonna lie. Well, you know, I can't go home. I'm far away from home.
Right.
So so then her and her sister are like, you know, Yolanda, it's offensive if you don't eat one of everything. It'll be offensive to my mom that you have to eat everything. And this plate, I mean, have you been to a Filipino person? Girl, it's so much food. It's so much food.
Suppose they have something that you don't eat.
But yeah. So they're telling me that. So I'm like, oh my God, I gotta get through all this food. I don't know how I'm gonna do it. And they're in and I hear the mom come in. So I'm looking. I'm in there by myself looking at all this food, and the mom comes through, and she's like, you know, what's wrong? And I said, well. And now she was like, what did the girls say? Because I'm like, nothing. And she's like, no. What did my girls tell you? I said, well, they said that I have to eat one of everything, otherwise it's offensive. And she just starts laughing. She said, they played that trick on everybody. You don't have to. She said, you can eat what it is that you want to eat. Yeah. She was like, but as long as you eat, that's all we care about. I was like, oh. And so, and I look around the corner, they're in there, they're dying laughing.
I'm sure they are.
And then like all of the family is there, and everybody doesn't speak English, but everybody was very kind. So that's the thing I think, like I said, I think the current guys are missing. And then one more story. So even when we didn't like each other, like when my mom died, it was during the middle of change of command. You know how change of command is a very big hoity-toity to do. And I was in the office area when I found out, and somebody got to my commander. He is getting ready to get on stage for this big, huge change of command. And he comes running to my office, because I remember him coming in. And I was like, sir, why are you here? Is your change of command? He said, your mom died. I don't care about change of command. I'm going to be in charge tomorrow whether I hand him the flag or not. He said, I'm going to sit here with you, because they had called somebody else to come get me because they wouldn't let me drive. But this was the thing, and you remember all your friends, so if my friends are watching this, but I'm talking about the two people that, the reason why we miss in communication. So him leaving his change of command and literally sitting in the office and just holding my hand. That we wasn't talking. I was like, sir, your change of command. He said, Sergeant Smalls. He said, we have been together for 2 years. He said, I am not about to stand on the stage with a stranger to hand him a flag when I could be sitting here with you. And then there was a girl that was stationed there. We were all instructors. And not that we disliked each other, but we ain't like each other. You know what I mean? Like, we just, you stay over there, I'm gonna stay over here. When I got home, she was already sitting in my driveway. And so she didn't say nothing. Came in the house, she went in, she was like, hey, I'm gonna be over here, because you know, you gotta get in touch with the Air Force Aid Society to get your ticket, and the Red Cross, you know, getting the Red Cross. It's all this administration stuff when your parent died to get you from where you are to get you home. And she's got her pen, she's got her notebook, and she's just sitting there. And she's like, you know, whatever you need me to do, she's got the phone is next to her, you know, I can, you know, take calls. So she's just sitting there. And when I tell you that woman sitting there, this woman that I did not like, that didn't like me, but we didn't hate each other. So I want to be very clear about that. Was just, it was comforting.
If the transition changed, y'all got to know each other.
And so we're not talking, she's just sitting there. And I'm taking care of my business, you know, because I'm taking the calls and I'm able to function because my mom prepared me to be a functioning person in grief. So I see her there the whole time. Like I said, I don't talk to her. I keep asking, because I asked somebody, why is she here? I did ask somebody, why is she here? But at the time, not realizing she was feeding something. So I left, I come back, and me and her went to eat. And I asked her, I was like, well, you don't like me. Why were you there? She said, Yolanda, she said, all of your friends were in the emotion of your grief. She said they all had met your mom. I had never met your mom. She said they were all emotional with you. She said, I figured I could do the business piece that didn't involve emotion because I had no emotional entanglement with you. She said, but she said, watching you function through your grief, she said, and watching you able to take the phone call, because she's like, every time you got on the phone, I said, I noticed every time you got on the phone, you came up and stood there. She said, because at any minute, if I needed to grab that phone out your hand, I wanted to be ready to grab that phone out your hand. She said, but you powered through, and she said, she said, I had a whole different view of you. She said, you've always been, I think that's one of the things she likes, business. You know, she's kind of a little bit built a little different. So that's the thing about the current thing. I think that we've given everybody so much of their own space that no one has learned, because you were forced. You were forced to be together, but in being forced to be together, it forces you to talk and to even come to a conclusion like, we don't like each other, but we're still fine. We can still work together and move together. You know, as long as nobody does anything egregious.
Right.
So I think that's the thing that's kind of missing a little bit out of the current environment. Everyone has their own space, and in having your own space, it doesn't make you come out of your box. It doesn't make you make friends outside of your comfort zone.
Right. And just like they had you following each new person around to their lodge and to their new duty station, to the hospital, you need somebody one-on-one with the new entry level people coming in to teach them, like RA, like a dorm supervisor or something like that, to teach them how to assimilate into the military world that they're going to be in. Yes. So, how was your transition after 24 years in the military? How was your transition into civilian life?
So let me say.
And so in your transition from military life, from you moving to Brunswick, Georgia.
Oh, that's a big window. Okay. So I retired in 2013.
Okay.
And I moved to Brunswick in 2024, so that's 11 years.
Okay.
I retired. I was ready to go. So let me say that. But in being ready to go, you don't realize it's a death.
Yeah.
And so I went through depression. I went through a deep depression, and I didn't really recognize it. My son recognized it earlier than I did. It's like, oh, I'm just happy to be done. But then, because I finished, because I'm such a workaholic, that I finished working December of 2023, but I had enough military leave saved up that I didn't retire until April 1st, 2013. So 2012, December 2012 was my last duty date. April 1st, 2013 was my official last date, because I had been downrange so much, so I had 4 months of leave saved up. Because I was never taking vacation, because I was always moving.
So you stayed in rather than get that money when you got out.
Yeah. Right. So I say that to say, when I first retired, I was going to the gym. I still went up, got up every morning at 5, went to the gym. But after that, I would come home and just watch TV and eat chocolate cake. And my son said one day, I think it was like 2 months into it, and he said, Mom, he said, I had a nightmare that you were 600 pounds, and every time I walked in the house, all you yelled at me was, go get me more chocolate cake. So I didn't know I was depressed until he told me that. Like, he was upset. Like, he was like,
you thought you were just chilling.
Yeah, I thought I was chilling. Yeah, my son was like, My son was like, Mom, you come home from the gym and you get in your pajamas and you just sit in a chair, eat chocolate cake, and watch Hallmark. And he was like, I don't know what to do for you. So he was so sad. And But then
funny.
on April 1st, and this is when I knew I had been depressed.
Okay.
On April 1st, when I had to relinquish my active duty card and get my blue card, when I tell you I cried for 48 hours. I was unconsolable for 48 hours because, and I was like, and at the same time, fussing myself, like, why are you sad? You was ready to go.
Did you? So let me ask you this: did you not have a plan? You didn't.
I didn't. You just
didn't have a plan.
Yeah, I didn't. I got out, and I didn't have a plan. I was just like, I'm done, you know.
Right.
It was that last trip to Afghanistan. When I got back, I was like, where's that button? Cause y'all tripping. Y'all tripping. I almost died. I didn't join to die. Cause our building got hit. I didn't die.
Ooh.
So, the building in front of us got hit, and we got hit with the shrapnel. So I was like, yeah, it's time to go. No, and so that's when I realized that I had been depressed. I thought I was chilling, and then between my son being sad, and then me, so there was that, and then I got a job at Edward Jones Investments. Shout out to Edward Jones. God. So let me tell you, everything after I retired is all about God.
Okay.
Because before I retired, my chief, and at her retirement, her mom, and boss, I had never heard of Edward Jones Investments. So all of these people work at Edward Jones. So my chief is telling them, hey, Yolanda's going to transition out in 6 months. So her mom's boss is talking to me, and she's like, hey, I'm a female financial advisor in Louisiana. She said, I'm just going to be honest, we need some black female advisors in Louisiana because no one's going into the black neighborhoods to get them to invest their money. She said, you would be great working underneath me. I had never heard these things before, but I did tell her, I said, that sounds like you're messing with people's money and people will shoot you over money. So no, I don't want to do that. I said, because I make a bad investment, they coming for me, huh?
Right.
I said, I don't want to get out of the military to get shot. Right. She laughed, but she's like, no, think about it. So I didn't think about it, but it did stay in my mind. But her mom, my chief's mom, administrators, and they said, well, if you don't want to be a financial. And I'm thinking, at the time, though, I'm still active duty, plus I'm in charge of my chief's sermon. So I got a lot of stuff in my mind. I'm like, why are these people talking to me? Because God will prepare you.
Yeah.
God will prepare you.
Yes.
So these people talk to me about Edward Jones for like a whole day. And I'm like, why are they talking to me? First of all, other than my TSA, I don't know nothing about investing. The military invests my money. I don't know. Right. I just give them my money every month and they put it in this investment account. That's all I know. And then I retire. Mm-hmm. Then in April, when I finally get my last paycheck, I'm like, oh, I gotta get a job. Because this retirement ain't paying for nothing but my house payment. So a job. And then my chief calls me. She's like, hey, this guy at my church, they're looking for an Edward Jones administrator at his office.
Shut up.
I said, okay. Well, give me your sister's number. I'm gonna call your sister because I gotta see what this is about before I apply for it. Because once again, it's messing with people's money. Mm-hmm. So I talked to her sister. Her sister works out in Washington. Her sister was like, "No, I think you'll be a great fit. You know, me and Carrie talk about you all the time. I know your work ethic." She's like, "You need to go for it." So I applied. Went in for the interview. Mind you, noticed in my career I've never worked in finance. Mm-hmm. So I have no financial experience. Mm-hmm. Went in for the interview. I found out later, in the middle of the interview, my nose starts running. And you know how they tell you go in the interview, you don't take a purse, you don't take anything, just go in there. So my nose starts running, which was odd, because my nose doesn't run. I don't have a nasal problem. Right. All of a sudden my nose runs, I ask for a tissue, I keep talking, because I'm a good talker. And finish the interview. I can't really answer the finance questions, but I can answer all the customer service questions. And I leave, and I'm thinking, I don't know, because I can't answer the finance questions they're asking me. They give me a call. They're like, hey, he wants to have you bring you back in for a second interview. I was like, oh, I get a second interview, so I'm excited. I'm like, well, I better look up some financial stuff, because I had no for the actual job. I got no answers. And then, like a couple of days later, another Edward Jones person calls me. They're like, hey, just want to go over and I had prayed. because someone else had offered me a job with not that much money. I was like, Lord, I said, the job that you want me to have them offer me this specific amount so I know that this is the job that you want me to have. So a couple of days later, before, I think I was going in like the next day for my second interview, they called me and they're like, hey, we need to go over the hiring package, how much, you know, you'll be making and all these other things. And so they're talking to me and I'm confused. And so she's talking about stuff, and I said, well, I said, that all sounds good. I said, but I don't go in for my second interview until tomorrow. She's like, oh, she said, I started this phone call off wrong. She said, no, he doesn't want you to come in for this second interview. She said, this is an official offer. Because I had never heard of an official offer before, so I didn't know until she said the words, and that's what it is. She said, no, this is, she said, all the things I'm telling you because this is an official offer. I was like, oh. She said, and she's like reading through her page. She's like, now, she said, we don't normally start our beginner people off with no experience this amount, but he was very specific that I had to offer you this amount. It was the amount I prayed for.
Child.
And I was like, oh yeah, I'm taking this job. That's the Lord. And it was so pivotal. The Lord has always been there for me even when I wasn't checking for him. Because you know, I have not always been saved. I didn't get saved till I was about 40.
Say that again.
I have not always been saved.
But the first one.
The Lord was checking for me when I wasn't checking for him.
Yes.
So, and I found out a year later, I was talking to the other lady that was in the room when I was getting interviewed. And she's like, do you know what got you the job? And I was like, no. She said, the way you handled your nose running in the middle of the interview. She said, you didn't freak out. She said, you just like paused like, is my nose running? She said, you was like, can I get a tissue? And she said, you just kept on going like, nothing happened. She was like, and that's what we need, because I was the front counter person. So she was admin, but she was the heavy duty admin. And of course, he's the financial
advisor. What they say about distractions?
Yes.
What pastor say about distractions?
Yeah.
Don't let it mess up your flow.
No. Yep. Don't let it. So that's how I ended up there. That's how I ended up.
So explain for people who don't know, explain why investing is important for people of all ages.
Yes.
What age you think they should start.
Right.
And how can one learn how to start investing?
Okay, so investing should start as soon as you get a social security number. A social security number. So when you're having these babies, instead of having people spend all this ridiculous amount of money on an outfit that the baby probably gonna grow out of before you even take the price tag off. So you can get them two accounts. There's a 529, that's an educational account, or you can get a baby just a regular account. It's a minor child account. So you can open up their account with like $100, $200. And then you can have people like when you have your parties, when you have the little birthday parties, instead of people bringing gifts, they bring a check. And then you take the check, $5, whatever the check is, and you put it into the account. Your it's talking to you about these accounts will tell you which one's more beneficial for your situation. The 529 is an educational one, and before I left, they had changed it. Before you could only use it for college, but they changed it. So 529 educational accounts, you can now use that account to fund, like if you want to send them to a private school for kindergarten, if you send them to a private school, you can use that money. So it's tax deferred. So that's what you want to do. You want to get a investment account for your child when they're born. Instead of spending money on things that's not important, having these lavish first birthday parties that's really for the adults, take that money and put it into the account. Also, if you don't do that, when you get your first job, when you get your first tax ID paying job, so if you're 15, I don't know, every state is different. When you get a tax paying job, open up an IRA, an individual retirement account. And as long as you have a tax-paying job, you have to have a tax-paying job, you can contribute to your IRA. The younger you start, the more money you're going to have when it's time to retire, and you can retire in a much better position than having to go get a job because you have to work because you can't afford to retire. So as soon as you get a tax-paying job, 15, 13, as long as you have a W-2, get an IRA. Put $5 in there each check. Because you can start a cheap one like at the bank. Like, you know, start there, start small, but start.
I think this year it was like If you're single, it's like $4,500,
Yeah,
and
right.
if you're married, it's $2,500.
Yeah.
But it's different depending
Depending-
on what
yeah.
bank you're at.
Yeah, but just like I said, if you're 13, $5, like, okay, I got $10. You got to pay your tithes, so don't forget to pay your tithes. And then after you pay your tithes, you pay yourself. And because you really don't have bills at this age, so just start putting money, any amount will do. Just start an IRA because you can't touch it. That's the good thing. I'll put it in the savings account. First of all, you don't earn that much interest in the savings account. Second of all, you want to put the money in an account that you cannot touch. That way you will have it.
But if you do this IRA, you got a Roth.
So a Roth,
The Roth is good until 73.
yeah, the Roth, I generally talk to your financial advisor. Generally, a Roth, so the difference is one you pay taxes on now, and the other one is one you pay taxes on later.
Right.
So some of my stuff I switched over to a Roth, so I pay the taxes on it now. So when I'm taking it out, when I'm accepting, I don't have to pay taxes on it.
And now, but if you have a traditional and you take money out prior to 70, you're gonna pay taxes twice. You gonna
It depends on you do it,
because if you don't do it, you're gonna do it at the end of the year when you file your taxes.
Again, talk to your financial advisor because rules change. But as long because before, if you take it out early, as long as you pay it back before a time frame, a specific time frame, there's no penalty. But don't get into that because if you hit the penalties, the penalty is high. But anyway, as soon as you get it.
And so, how can you start investing?
Go to the bank. That's the quickest way. Go to the bank, open up your basic ones. Once you get some money or you're really good at it, you can move. Like some people don't know that you're good at. Some people can invest, know how to do investments, and they have all these little investment platforms you can do yourself. If you really know what you're doing, you can do that. If you don't, stick with someone that can help you. And then you can move. We had kids when I worked in Edward Jones. We had kids who moved they had a nice investment account at the bank, and they moved to Edward Jones and did better. There was a lot of kids that the parents took care of them and they had money in there and they knew how to invest. So like I said, as soon as you can, start at the bank. Start with a CD, a certificate of deposit. So like I keep a couple of those in my account, so it locks up cash for like 2 years, and then at the end of the 2 years I get a lump sum. I can either use that money or I can buy another CD, which is a good way if you don't want to lock your money up forever, but like I get a 6-month CD or a year, depending on what I want to do. But yeah, start with your bank.
And so, reading your bio, you said recently you became a first grandmother.
Yes.
Okay.
So my 2 wonderful children, shout out Dante Smalls, shout out Devin Smalls. Anyway, I want to make sure I say y'all name. So Mila Smalls. So she was born June 2023. No. Yes, June 2023. She lives in Florida. Shout out my little squishy boo. So she's 2 this year. But yeah, being a grandma is everything I didn't know that it would be.
Yes, I know all about it. Welcome to that
Yes.
era. And so we're coming down to the end of our conversation, and to explain to us what is the year of the yes. And God said, pack it up, said the Lord. Pack it up, pack it up. So tell us about the year of the yes.
So the year of the yes. So that's a Shonda Rhimes book. I think this year she just did a anniversary edition. But I had gotten it at one of them bargain $5 tables. So I had come back. I missed Mila being born. I'd come to Florida for her to be born, but she was late, so I had to go back to Montana. And I missed her being born. And so I came back for her first month birthday. And so I'm sitting outside with her on her parents' balcony, and I am reading the Shonda Rhimes book, The Year of Yes, and I'm holding my little squishy boo. And her book is like an autobiography because she said she used to say no to everything, And so she had taken a dare with her sister that she was going to have 1 year, and she just said yes to everything that terrified her. And so I'm reading this book, but also I've been talking to the Lord because I'm like, Lord, when is it time for me to leave Montana? I've been in Montana for 13 years, and I was waiting for Him to tell me when it was time to leave. And yes, God will tell you when it's time to move. By the way, so I'm reading the book, and I just hear it. Like I read in the book, there was one line that said, "Planners plan, doers do. Don't be a planner, be a doer." And I was like, oh. And right when I read that, my brain clicked, like literally it was audible. It's time to leave Montana. It was audible in my head. And I was nervous because I thought it was me. Because you think it's you sometimes, because I knew I wanted to go. So I was like, oh. So I went on, as you do, you go on Facebook. I went on Facebook and I was like, hey, reading this book, and I'm thinking I don't want to move to Florida. I know I don't want to move to Florida. I don't want to be right on top of the kids, but I want to move close by. I'm thinking Georgia. So of course everybody sends you, oh, Atlanta. Anybody moving to Atlanta? Why are y'all sending me
Montana with the cold?
Yeah, anybody moving to Atlanta? So one of the girls hit me up. She's like, hey, sorry, Smalls, I see everybody responding, but I kind of know you and your personality. I think you would do well in Pooler. Of course, I never heard of Pooler.
Okay.
So I look up Pooler. I'm like, oh, yeah, she's on to something. So I'm looking at Pooler, looking at Richmond Hill. So then my other girlfriend calls me. She's like, Yolanda, because she had just retired too. She's like, hey, I moved 4 hours away from my parents. She said, 4 hours is too far. She said, move 3. She said 3 is the sweet spot where you can bounce down and bounce back. She said it's something about 3 hours and 5 minutes is too much. So I said, okay. So I do my search window for 3 hours. But I'm still in Florida with my squishy boo, still reading the book. But my brain is because as soon as I heard it's time to leave Montana, now my brain is like, where am I gonna go?
Right.
Because originally my original plan when I retired and I was ready to leave Montana, and the Lord said no, I was going to Tennessee. I wanted to go to Nashville, but then I was in a military chat group, and I was, telling people where I live and where my family lived. And they was like, no, move to Chattanooga, because Chattanooga puts you on the 95 corridor, so you can get back and forth.
Right.
Most of my family is up north in New Jersey, Delaware, Virginia. And they was like, you put you on that corridor, so you can get right on. They was like, if you go to Nashville, you're too far in. So I was like, okay, good. So that was Yolanda's plan. 2013, Yolanda's plan was to leave Montana and go to Chattanooga. So to finish answering your question, so the year to yes. So I read the book. It was pivotal for me. That whole book was life changing for me. She was talking about her life, but that whole book spoke to me. If you look at that book, I've got stuff underlined, and I've never been that person. I got stuff underlined, I got stuff highlighted, because it was just so many correlations of just kind of, you have to inspire yourself. You have to do the things that you never thought you would do before, and they're going to be more beneficial to you. So I leave from being with Squishaboo. I go back to Montana. My first lady at my church, me and her power walk together. And so I get back, and she's like, oh, I'm glad you're back. And we go out for our power walk. Now, just getting back. And we're out walking. And I was like, hey, First Lady, I said, I'm thinking maybe like June of next year. I'm thinking about maybe putting my house on the market. Maybe it's time for me to move, closer to the baby. Now, knowing I heard the Lord said, it's time to go now. But I'm still nervous that I thought that was me telling me that, because I wanted to go. So she was quiet, and then she said, well, and I said, probably, want to sit down with you and Bishop and talk about it. And she was like, well, we could do that. She said, or I could tell you what Bishop said. And I'm like, well, what did Bishop say? He's wondering what is taking you so long to leave. I said, what? She said, yeah.
He already had the vision.
He already had the vision. I said, my birthday was in 2 weeks. My 54th birthday was in 2 weeks. I said, I said, okay, I know what I'm going to do for my 54th birthday. She's like, what? Put in my house on the market. She's a realtor. She was like, Yolanda, that's just 2 weeks away. I can do it. I can get everything done in 2 weeks. Called my dad. My dad loaned me some money so I could get out all the things fixed. And in 2 weeks, we put my house on the market. Put my house on the market for my 54th birthday. I was exhausted. There's a picture of me like on my dining room table, asleep, because I was exhausted. Put my house on the market. That was August. It sold in October. I had a great friend who had a basement apartment. I lived down there. Well, it was a basement. I turned it into an apartment. Okay. She was like, I didn't know my basement could look like this. Yes, me and all my furniture was down in her basement. You are yeah, so that was October. I got a realtor. I had a girl that I used to work with, military girl I used to work with. She was like, hey, my cousin's a realtor out of Savannah, because that's really where I was thinking I was going. And I, use her. So I was like, okay. So in the midst of this, why Brunswick kept coming up. Okay. So as I'm doing my research, Brunswick kept coming up. And I'm like, Brunswick got crime. Brunswick come up again. Brunswick just kept, the more I kept going no to Brunswick, the more Brunswick just kept coming in. So then the realtor, she's hitting me up, and everything she's sending me is Brunswick. So after I complained, she started sending me stuff like the St. Mary's area down there near the base. Kingsland. Yeah, Kingsland. But she would like send me like 1 to like 5. She'd be like, no, these are you. Okay, if you want to. So I made an appointment. I did my pre-letter. People don't know that. I did pre-letter. So she was so excited. She said, oh, you did the pre-letter. Your pre-letter for when you buy the house is how much the bank already guarantees that you'll get. You give it to your realtor. That way they can shop for a house for you realistically. Right. So I got here, and we started in Brunswick. And I drove through the neighborhood before she got here. This part that I live in is not here. I drove to the other half, and I was like, ain't nobody living over here. That's what I said before I met her. And I went over to the Sam's Club, picked up my girlfriend, because shout out to my friend Christine Daniels, the godmother to my children, because she don't let me do nothing by myself. She drove down from where she lives in Long, South Carolina, to be with me to search for houses. Okay. And then Dante, my oldest, has flown in from Arizona, so both of these two are with me on the journey. And so we get here, and we come on this side with the newer houses, and this style, so not this particular house, but this style house was the second house that I walked into, and I was like, this is kind of it. This is it. So, but I don't know what to say. So we kind of walk around, and I was like, oh, I like this lot. So we kind of look at it, and I'm thinking in my mind, my brain is already locked in, like, I really love this style. And I'm like, it doesn't look like the one on the computer that she sent me, but I love the style. So we went to Kingsland, we went to St. Mary's, my son liked the one in St. Mary's because it was near the Navy base, and it looked like military house. And he's like, Mom, I like this one, I like the feel of this neighborhood. I said, because it feels like base housing. The house, the house was gorgeous, but when you drove into the neighborhood, right? I don't see these people, but this feels like base house. You wanted to separate yourself at this time. So after we've been driving around, I told my realtor, I said, so she was like, well, if you didn't see anything you liked, I said, actually, the second house you showed me was the one I want. I said, we could have been done hours ago. I said, but I just wanted to make sure. Right. And she was like, she was like, well, you know what you like? Because the neighborhood that, of all the things that she sent me, the one I like, I can't remember what neighborhood that is now. I loved on the computer when we got there. I'm like, the Lord, I tell you, the Lord was all about this. So I put in my offer for this house. I got, of course, they were like, yes, we'll take it. We'll take all of your money. Right. And now you segue into our next question, building a new community. Right. So how is that going? So that you have your house now, you have your community. Yeah. How's it going? So I get here. I bought the house in April, but I'm not here. Still in Montana, finishing out. I drive into here in June, and it was right before Juneteenth. And I get here, and I don't know anybody. Right. I'm gonna go downtown. Right. I'm heading downtown because I had met this man randomly when we were looking at houses, And he was like, you got to check out downtown. They're revitalizing
Mm-hmm.
Brunswick. And I was like, oh, okay. So I head downtown by myself, obviously. And I'm down there, I'm walking around, and it's early in the morning because it's out here. And this lady comes out of the rum distribution place.
Rum, right. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
So, and she was like, hey, are you new here?
Risley Rum.
Yeah. I was like, there's a gajillion black people here. Okay. I was like, yeah, I'm new. She's like, I think that you would really enjoy if you, Makers. It's a, the crafting store.
I'm familiar.
Yeah. So she was like, head all the way down there to Makers. And she said, Kathy Brooks runs it. I think you would like that. So I walked all the way down there and I walked in and they have all the artsy stuff, and the pottery and the poetry, and it's a store. And I'm down there talking to them, and I was like, oh, I said, this lady, I don't even know who she was. I said, she was sweeping out in front of the rum place, and she sent me down here. And so that started a good conversation. And then they was like, oh, are you going to the Juneteenth thing today? Juneteenth thing. So now I'm over so they sent me off. I'm off to a Juneteenth celebration. So I'm out there at the Juneteenth thing.
Southern Park.
Historic Southern Park. I'm out there burning to a crisp, having a great time. I go, and they announce on the loudspeaker, they're like, there's going to be a tour of the historic Selden House Schoolhouse. So I go to the historic Southern Schoolhouse to do the tour because I don't want to just be partying on Juneteenth. I want the information. I meet this amazing woman, Dana Roberts, because she's doing the tour. And after I do the tour, her daughter is standing by the door and she's like, hey, I think you and my mom would be really good friends. You should stay and talk to her after the tour. I was like, I ain't got no friends, okay. So I stay and Dana finishes her tour and now me and her chit-chatting and I tell her I just flew there. She's like, oh, I got to do another Juneteenth thing over in Darien on Wednesday. You want to go with me to that? Yes, I do. And so Dana kind of took me under her wing when I first got here. So at the Selden Park at the Juneteenth, so I met her. Also found out about Tova. Shout out to Golden Isles Cardigan Dancing because they were performing. Also, I didn't meet Tova there that day, but I went to her class later and met her. So between Dana Roberts and Tova, and I can't say her last name correctly, which is what I'm not saying. Golden Isles Cardigan Dancing. They kind of took me under their wing, and that's how I started to build community. Because with Dana, she started introducing me to like your historians, people that were doing history type things, cultural events. With Dana, not Dana. So then with Tova learning, going to cardio line dancing, then I was meeting a plethora of different people that come to her class because it's a class. It's not like you have the ones that go out to perform. Hers is a class, so it's a more of an educational feel and it's fun because you're not, under pressure. So between those two, then later that year, I meet my girl. Oh, Tristina. She runs
Tristina
Brown Butter.
Yes,
Social Butter. Yeah, Brown Butter Social Butterfly. I meet her in December. Oh my gosh, Michelle Hill. Jesus. I meet her before them. Uphill Fitness. 7 a.m. Tuesday and Thursday boot camp. I met her, and it's so crazy. So all these people I'm meeting, Michelle in her class, all the women I met in there and became friends with and hanging out. Shout out to Jackie Wells. She has accounting. If you don't know anything about Brunswick, it's all entrepreneurs. There's no industry. So everybody here. So I meet all these amazing women while I'm out moving around. And coming to find out, and this is going to go to your next question, they all go to my church. But so my community is various different people that I met along the way. Some are still with me all the time. Some have kind of, life.
And you see how you moved from Montana, found the same thing, found another home, found another church home, and everything.
Yes.
And then you're building a new community. How about that?
And I love the way the Lord moves. So I go to Greater Works. Shout out to Pastor Mark Baker and co-pastor Laura Baker. But all of the friends that I have that go to my church, I didn't meet them at church. I didn't know that they went to my church. I met them out
and about.
out and about, having a good time, and it's just the way the Lord like melted us. Because Jackie, I hang out with Jackie the most, and I didn't know that me and Jackie went to the same church because we sit on two different sides of the church. Until one day, Pastor Baker kept talking about Jackie, my camera. And so I looked up to see who he's talking about. Jackie went to the church.
He's so crazy. Oh my God.
But and then like you, and then I met you at in January at the Martin Luther King when we're doing the thing.
The with the Better Glen?
Better Glen. Yeah, I met you through Better Glen. Yes.
I do my podcast.
Yes. So I was doing, and I got here and I'm serving the community. I was at Better Glen.
Yes.
I'm trying to do all,
and now you're on my podcast.
Yeah. But that was the day I met you. You were doing the podcast as I walked by. And so, and I met you, and then one day I looked back at the church and you were sitting back there. I said, Lord. But I just love it because I love how I met you all outside of the church.
And not within the church.
And not within the church.
Because you met us naturally.
Yes.
What did he say the other day about meeting someone naturally?
Yes.
Before you meet them spiritually?
Yes.
Because you have to understand the natural.
You do.
To follow them into spiritual.
Yes. So it was just amazing to me. And no, everybody that I hang out does not go to my church.
Right.
But the bulk of them do, and everyone has their life and their spiritual. We have our spiritual connection, and it's amazing. God is just amazing what He does.
And on that note, this conversation is over. Thank you so much, Ms. Smalls. It was a wonderful conversation, and thank you for your service. And have a blessed Veterans
Thank
Day.
you for your service.
Will you be attending the parade on Tuesday on the island?
I didn't know there was a parade.
Okay, I'll tell you afterwards. But until the next time, you all have a blessed weekend. See you soon. Bye.